Welcome into Duval Daily, presented by GenJag.com. I'm Jordan Lugo. Thanks so much for tuning in here on Wednesday, September 13th. Right now, we're going to take a look at three things that still make me nervous about the Jaguars as they embark on this 2023 campaign. Obviously, they were able to get a big Week 1 win on the road against the Indianapolis Colts, division rival, but I still think there's a couple things, three things to be exact, that I want to touch on before we get into Week 2 that make me slightly nervous about this Jaguars team. And this is not to say that the Jaguars are not going to be a good team in 2023. I think they absolutely will be. I picked them to go to the AFC Championship. I think they're going to have a really fun 2023 campaign. This is just three things that, in my opinion, they kind of give me a little pause when I look at the rest of the schedule, look at, getting into the playoffs and all that sort of stuff. So really appreciate y'all tuning in. If you enjoy the content, please like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. You can also check out genjag.com/shop, pick up some new Duval gear. All right, y'all. So the interior of the offensive line, it's not that they are going to be completely outmatched in a lot of games, but there have been injuries, nagging injuries, injuries that are going to take some time to recover from. Brandon Sheriff has an ankle. Luke Fortner has a lower body injury as well. You've seen Tyler Shatley deal with AFib. You've got Ben Barch just coming back from the big knee injury he suffered last year. So there's just been some moving parts. There's been some little injuries here and there. And I don't think it's the most talented group on the planet, right? Brandon Sheriff, extremely talented. Luke Fortner, I think, has improved going into year 2. But I still don't think you look at him as like a Pro Bowl level center or anything close to that. I think he's more average at this point in his development at center. And then Ben Barch, I think you probably look at maybe average to slightly above average at left guard. You're playing a bunch of really talented interior defensive lines. They just got done dealing with, I should say, DeForest Buckner and Grover Stewart. Up next, you're going to have Chris Jones. You have Jeffrey Simmons in the division. You've got talented defensive fronts that you're going to be facing all year. And if this interior of the offensive line has a bunch of shuffling parts, moving parts, guys getting injured, and they're just not the most talented group in the world anyways, I just tend to worry a little bit about that. And the easiest way to really get to Trevor Lawrence is through the interior of the defense, right? Coming off the edge, Trevor Lawrence has a really good feel for pressure. He's able to step up in the pocket, evade pressure really well, get the ball out quickly. But if you're coming up the middle, it makes it really difficult to handle that type of situation if you're Trevor Lawrence. So that's one thing that concerns me a little bit. And I also don't think that they did a great job in terms of their run blocking overall. I think that Travis Etienne and Tank Bigsby kind of had to make the most of what was there against the Colts, and it was not a big rushing day. I think you just want that interior offensive line to have a little bit more stability and a little bit more overall production moving forward. Is that going to happen? I'm not sure. And again, they have Chris Jones coming into Jacksonville this weekend. Not a good time to be dealing with some injuries and some shuffling around up front. We'll see how it plays out. I'm also concerned with the lack of pass rush depth, right? Especially on the edge. I think that the interior, once you get Devon Hamilton back, which hopefully is after week 4, is going to be looking good because you do have Roy Robertson Harris and Foley Fatukasi and some other depth players that can get the job done there. But behind Josh Allen and Trayvon Walker, who both played really well in week 1, you just do not have a lot on the edge. Kayvon Chason played 14 snaps. He did not look great. You did get Yasir Abdullah in there late in the game, and he was able to land an inside spin, get a pressure, force Anthony Richardson to evade the pocket. But Josh Allen and Trayvon Walker, they played way too many snaps in week 1, and I think if they come off the field and you have to put Kayvon Chason on the field, you're looking at a very big drop-off there overall. Obviously, you'll eventually get DeJuan Smoot back, but that's probably not going to be until October at the earliest for DeJuan Smoot's return from that Achilles injury. I just think that there's a little bit too much instability behind Josh Allen and Trayvon Walker. And look, if they were robots and they could go out there and play every play, I think you're fine. But the bottom line is that's not the way it works in the NFL. You need to be able to rotate guys in and out of there. Right now, they do not have the rotation that is going to allow Josh Allen and Trayvon Walker to be at their best when they're on the field late in the game. And it's not going to, provide a good depth when the other guys are on the field. I mean, I think Yasir Abdullah has a really bright future. I really do. But he's a rookie. And Kayvon Chason, you didn't see much at all against the Indianapolis Colts. You haven't seen much at all from him throughout his entire career in Jacksonville as a former first-round pick, unfortunately. So I think the pass rush depth is a concern. DeJuan Smoot will help alleviate that a bit when he gets back. But I still think it's a concern even when DeJuan Smoot does get back, because I just think you're going to see Josh Allen and Trayvon Walker playing way too many snaps. And then finally, I've been kind of hesitant to really talk about this because I'm mentioning a couple players that I really do like, but on the defensive side of the ball, I think Rayshon Jenkins, Devin Lloyd, and Trey Herndon to an extent as well. Each of those guys being on the field a ton, I think that there's potential for offenses to take advantage of them. And they did in 2022. It didn't really rear its ugly head in the first game against the Indianapolis Colts, but I think if there is a game that it's going to show up, it's going to be against the Kansas City Chiefs in week 2 and games like that. Obviously the Bengals didn't look good in week 1. The Bills didn't look good in week 1 either, but you got both of those teams on your schedule that have tremendous offenses. You're going to face a lot of good offenses this year. And so I look at Rayshon Jenkins, and he's a playmaker. He's a leader, but he can be exploited when he's put in positions to make plays on his own down the field in coverage and in space in pursuit. He's a guy that misses a lot of tackles. He missed another tackle in week 1, 14.6 missed tackle rate in week 1 for Rayshon Jenkins. I don't think you saw Devin Lloyd really get attacked too much, and I think he played very well overall. But I think when you're talking about pushing the ball down the middle of the field, pushing the ball down the seam, pushing the ball into the flats, these are the players that other teams can try to take advantage of. Now, I think Devin Lloyd is tremendously talented. I think he should take a huge step forward. So for me, this is really more about Rayshon Jenkins at safety being an up and down, an inconsistent type of player. Yes, he can win you games with big plays, but he can also be a little reckless. He can be out of control a bit at times, and he can over pursue, he can miss tackles, he can miss reads, and just not be quite where he's supposed to be at times. And then I think you also look at Trey Herndon. I think he's a more sound player. He just doesn't necessarily have the athleticism to stick with a lot of the best slot players in the league. So I think there's going to be ways that opposing offenses can attack the Jaguars defense. Now, again, this is not me saying the Jaguars defense hasn't improved tremendously. It's not me saying that the Jaguars are not going to have a great year, win their division, and have a chance in the playoffs. It's just these are the things that make me a little bit nervous about this Jaguars roster moving forward. And the final thing is, I think it's still to be determined how well Press Taylor handles full-time play calling duties for the Jaguars. That's just a little bonus one there. I think overall he did well. You need to improve on 3rd and 4th down, but you said that about Doug Peterson at times early on in the 2022 season as well, and you've said that about Andy Reid throughout his career. Sometimes when you get cued on 3rd and 4th down, it just doesn't quite work out. I think you saw that quite a bit with Press Taylor's play calling on Sunday against the Colts. You want to improve there, and you just want to see how Press Taylor handles this whole thing moving forward. It is a new era of Jaguars offensive football when you talk about Press Taylor being the full-time play caller instead of Doug Peterson. That's just the way it is. It's not the same guy calling plays. I think there will be a difference. And Zay Jones said at this point, he can't really tell a difference. He doesn't know the difference, or he couldn't tell during the week 1 win over the Colts that there was a really big difference in the play calling when he was interviewed earlier today by the Jaguars media. But for me, I'm just still nervous about the Jaguars' interior offensive line, the shuffling around, the injuries there, what can play out when you talk about playing against some of these really elite defensive tackles in the league. I'm still a little bit nervous as well about the Jaguars' pass rush depth, and again, some of these defensive players, and then, of course, as I just mentioned, Press Taylor calling plays. Not necessarily nervous, but just I think it's to be determined how that will play out for the Jaguars. But I think they're going to have a fantastic year, off to a good start. They're going to have a huge matchup this week against the Chiefs in Jacksonville in front of what should be a raucous crowd. Playoff rematch. The Jaguars lost to the Chiefs twice in Arrowhead last year, once in the playoffs. So I know they're going to be ready for this game. They're going to be motivated for this game. Josh Allen said it's personal. You've heard Doug Peterson kind of say it's just the next game on the schedule. Heard Trevor Lawrence say the same thing. It is just week 2, so it's not that big of a deal. But hey, if the Jaguars and Chiefs are kind of duking it out for playoff seeding down the road, later on in the season, if you win the tiebreaker, beat the other team, that's going to help you out when it comes to playoff seeding. So all these games against teams like the Chiefs, Bengals, Bills, they're big games, no matter what the coaches say, no matter what the players say. I think that they will be ready for this game. Will they be ready for Chris Jones and Travis Kelce? I think that remains to be seen. But really appreciate y'all tuning in. Hit me up on Twitter at Jordan DeLugo. You can also follow Generation Jaguar at Generation Jag. Hit that like and subscribe button on YouTube, notification bell so you don't miss a show. You can check out genjag.com/shop. Pick up some new Duval gear like the hat I'm wearing right now. Y'all have a good one.